Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, this is a satellite animation of the powerful low-pressure system that swept through the middle part of the country over the last couple of days and is right now moving towards the Great Lakes states. It has done it all. Blizzard conditions, incredibly strong winds, severe weather to the south, and flooding rains. Oftentimes, these massive low-pressure systems, which to an atmospheric scientist are just breathtaking, just amazing to see here, cause a lot of destruction. And this one was due to the timing of two troughs that kind of came together in the middle part of the country, producing low pressure at the center that is shattering records that go back a century. Now, as this system progressed through the middle part of the country, we produced quite a bit of severe weather to the south. In our regional updates available on my.nutrienagsolutions.com, we stressed earlier in this week about the severe weather threat for hail and tornadoes in eastern New Mexico, and then the massive squall line we anticipated moving across the middle part of Texas here. As that squall line moved through, take a look at the upper right-hand image. That's a radar reflectivity image showing you that powerful and damaging squall line that moved through the Dallas-Fort Worth area. 72 reports of high winds, 8 of them over the 70-mile-an-hour range here, causing some major damage. Thankfully, once we got into the day on Wednesday, as the system progressed toward the lower Mississippi River Valley, we saw fewer reports of severe weather, even though the storms were still quite strong. Probably what you heard the most about was the really heavy snow that we had due to some upslope flow. That's where the air is basically being aided in its lift as it rises up the elevation here. Widespread region here between 6 and 18 inches of snow, but it really wasn't the amount of snow that was the problem. It was the incredible winds with this system. I want to show you what they look like. This was valid at 4 p.m. on the 13th, and the synoptic scale winds around this low pressure system at times were sustained at over 50 miles an hour, sometimes gusting between 70 and 90 miles an hour. Where you see the widen here, this is where the sustained winds were over 50 miles an hour across this huge section of Colorado. And the whole system is wrapping up and heading on off to the north and east. The winds in this system were just relentless. And that's why today, as you look at our all hazards weather map, we have a large region that we have either high wind warnings or high wind advisories. In addition to that, with those winds, blizzard warnings in through this area, flood watch as that warm, moist air made it pretty far to the north, melting a lot of the snow in this region. And then as we progress throughout the day on Thursday, this is the region I'm watching very closely for severe weather threat. So the system is still packing a punch across much of the United States, but there's good news. When this goes away, we may have 7 or 8 days across the middle part of the country where things are quiet, maybe just a little cooler than average, but certainly drier. Now, that severe weather threat in the day on Thursday, the Storm Prediction Center has identified this region as having an enhanced risk of severe weather. I'm personally quite concerned about what's going to be happening from parts of far eastern Illinois, but really getting into central Indiana over toward Ohio, stretching down to northern Alabama. The tornado threat in through here, they have a 10% area highlighted here because the upper level wind shear with the system plus the cooling we're going to get aloft is going to make for potentially strong, multiple rounds of strong storms, some of which can rotate and produce tornadoes. Over here in the center, we have our severe wind report. There will be a squall line that basically races to the south of this, producing some damaging winds. And our hail threat, while it is not nearly as high as the tornado and severe wind threat here, is certainly an issue when we get into Kentucky, Tennessee, and then down into Alabama. So this is throughout the day on Thursday. We're going to take a closer look at that in just a few seconds. Remember, as the system continues to wrap up, our heaviest snow bands are going to be stretching from parts of Nebraska, getting all the way up into parts of Minnesota here, with some regions in here picking up an additional 6+ inches of snow. We could also see some heavier snows down here in this part of Nebraska as well. Now, why you see some blues in through this area is because as the system wraps itself out and goes east, we're going to be bringing some colder air behind it and the potential for some snow showers, but it'll also set up our lake effect snow machine here across the Great Lakes. So that's what we have. We've got some colder and very windy air coming in behind this system. In terms of rainfall, I'm concerned about this area again for more flooding. Remember, this is an area we've targeted for the last several weeks for strong to severe storms, many of which producing a lot of flooding rains. Depending on the trajectory of the storms into this area today, this would be the lower mid-Mississippi River Valley, we may be picking up another couple of inches of rain before this system moves all the way out. Looks like it'll stay drier here through parts of the cotton and peanut belt down in the southeast. As the system wraps itself all the way out here into the northeast, we kind of lose the stronger lifting along the boundary here farther to the south and east. But if we just step back and look at the main severe weather threat today first, I want to show you the high resolution view starting at 6 a.m. From the NAM 3-kilometer model. And what we see early in the morning, by the time we get to about 10 o'clock, is we have our main upper level front is kind of stretched in through here. So some scattered showers and thunderstorms. This is where we're going to be bringing in the heavy but quick hitting rain to this part of the Tennessee Valley, but getting into the lower Mississippi River Valley. You can see the scattered showers and storms. Let me get my drawings off there that kind of stretch across the Ohio River Valley. But as we progress through the morning, those showers move through. But by middle afternoon, my concern is the destabilization of the atmosphere in this area. Much colder air comes in aloft, warmer air at the surface. That destabilizes things, and the wind shear is quite strong. So from basically eastern Illinois to Ohio, central Ohio, the chance today for multiple rounds throughout the late morning and early afternoon, and again early evening, of strong to severe storms is high. Now, stepping you back, you can see also across Kentucky, Tennessee, getting all the way down to Louisiana, we see this focused line of strong to severe storms. They're quick hitting, they move through, but they're going to bring some heavy rains and the potential for damaging winds, some hail, risk of tornadoes, and a lot of lightning. Now, as this moves on out, you can see that main line kind of fizzles as it gets over toward the southeast. But look back up in the Great Lakes. See the snow coming through there? That's some lake effect snow with this system as it exits. But look, as it exits, the whole country kind of clears out here. Looking at precipitation type, I really want to focus on where the snow is going to be in this animation. So getting us through the morning on Thursday, we can see the snow wrapping back around the back side of this while still raining out ahead of it. Look up there in Wisconsin. That's rain first. And then much windier conditions come in and colder conditions. So we're going to freeze all that rain that came over and drop some snow on top of it throughout the state of Wisconsin. Same thing through Michigan. Now notice throughout the early morning hours on Friday, we may get some snow that will be coming through parts of Wisconsin, again, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan on the back side of this system with those strong winds. But things clear out after that. Now look at this. This is just for the next week. I'm sorry, this is just for the next couple of days. This gets us to Saturday morning, and this is all the way up to next Thursday evening. Now, why I'm showing you these two maps is notice this. The only difference is we have a system coming on next Tuesday, Wednesday into California, and this little thing sneaking down here out of the Gulf of Mexico into Florida. Outside of that, you don't see much change for the eastern two-thirds of the country. And that's because things are going to get cooler but drier for this region, which is what we desperately need. Now, why is that going to happen? Well, as I play this forward, we're going to see the main trough that was producing that large low pressure system move over toward the eastern part of Canada by the time we get through the weekend. Now, with that trough sliding toward eastern Canada, that will cool things off across the eastern third of the country. But this massive ridge that builds here along the west coast is what shuts everything down. You see, flow like this produces upper level convergence in this area in the jet stream, and that's just not good for the development of low pressure systems. So it's going to be all the way up to next Wednesday before we get a coastal low forming here, coming to California, that's going to kind of do something across the middle part of the country to produce our next weather system, which means we're going to get several days in a row of drying. Now, across the southeast, see this trough in through here? This is going to bring unsettled weather right along the Gulf Coast into Florida as we progress into early mid next week. But with this ridge moving across the eastern part of the country, a warm-up will happen by the time we get into the 22nd, 23rd, 24th of the month. But I have to tell you, by the time we get toward the end of the month of March, we end up seeing this going back into a pattern where we have troughs coming off of the Pacific Ocean, making their way into the West United States. And if that happens, well, we're going to get some reprieve here in mid-March from the rain and thunderstorm activity. Things are going to get quite active in this area again. Now, I released yesterday at my.nutrienagsolutions.com my spring outlook. You should definitely check that out. Go get signed up for free get checking out that forecast video, my long-range forecast, because I talk about where this pattern's going from here. But let's take a look at what it looks like just in the near term next. So as I click play, there's our big system that exits. Now watch this. This is Saturday morning, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Maybe by Tuesday there might be something coming out of Colorado into Kansas, but this isn't a big low pressure system. All we've got early next week is, look at this, the showers and storms down here for parts of Florida and the Gulf of Mexico. But let's go Wednesday. By Wednesday, our next coastal low hits California, and that one, as it skirts across the U.S., is finally going to be getting into the Central Plains, maybe making things more active by the time we get out to the 23rd, 24th, 25th of the month. We don't have the exact timing on this, but at that same time, this whole region is going to go back into a warmer pattern. So let's take a look at those temperatures. Out ahead of the system today, look at all the warm air advection, bringing warm temperatures clear to the Hudson Bay. Well, as the system passes through, look at this. This is by Friday night into Saturday. Cooler weather certainly comes in behind this. But I've got good news for you. The cooler weather is only like 5-6 degrees cooler than average, not 25 degrees cooler than average. So while this is going to return us back toward a little bit cooler than average weather for this time of year, it's going to feel more like spring than winter. Now, we got to get all the way out to Tuesday and Wednesday of next week before we start to see the pattern shifting where that ridge has an influence in the middle part of the country. So you can see that by the end of next week, we start to build back into these warmer than average temperatures. So remember, this is now middle end of March, so warmer than average this is significant. And we get back into something where we start to see again this kind of pattern setting itself up by the time we get here into the end of the third and the fourth week of the month. So that's an important transition. March is certainly unblocked. Things are moving, and they're going to be potentially causing some issues. But overall, if we look over the next 10 days, just the next 10 days, a significant part of the United States, nearly all of it, is going to be seeing some drier than average conditions. It'll only be down here in parts of Florida, where we see early next week a system coming across, and then into California next Tuesday, Wednesday time period. Other than that, much of the country gets a big break from the very active weather we've had. Okay, quickly to finish this up, I want to take you to South America. First 10 days of the month of March, we're looking at a drought severity index here. It's only been dry really in the Amazon and parts of eastern Brazil. Much of the rest of Brazil's major growing regions have seen either near average to, in some locations, a wetter bias. The drier stuff we've been talking about that's supposed to arrive by mid-March is here now. So we can see that still over the next 10 to 15 days, drier in this region of Brazil. But remember, to be drier in this area of Brazil doesn't mean it's drought. Just a little bit drier than average still means they get 2 to 3 inches of rainfall overall. Where it has been dry is looking to be wet. So you can see over here in parts of eastern Brazil, they're picking up on a wet bias. Same with southern Brazil. Taking you to Argentina, Argentina is arguably having one of its better years on record here. They've had plenty of rainfall here in Buenos Aires province and also in Cordoba, in and around Cordoba. And even though they're showing up with a little bit of a dry bias over the next 15 days, that's perfectly fine. They haven't had much heat stress, and their soil moisture looks pretty good this time of year. So some of the smaller issues we've seen in Brazil have certainly been made up for with what's going on in Argentina. And again, the safrinha crop in Brazil in this area has been planted very quickly. It's a couple of weeks ahead of schedule, and we're anticipating this being a big safrinha crop because right now we don't see anything that calls for major stresses moving forward. MJO's in the null phase, and El Nino's not having too big of an effect at this point on what's going on with the Brazilian monsoon. To finish this up, I just want to let you know that there is in the forecast a little bit of wetter conditions here for far eastern parts of Australia. Remember, it's fall in Australia here, or end of summer, beginning of fall. So this is normally a very dry time period. Much of the heavier rain will be right along the coast, but this is a very agriculturally productive area right in through here that could be picking up, anywhere between 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rain over the next 10 days. So just want to keep you up to date on what's going on in Australia. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next ag forecast coming out tomorrow on Friday at my.nutrienagsolutions.com, and my longer range, bigger outlook here will be out again on Monday morning. In the meantime, have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.